Hello and welcome to Video Revealed. I'm Colin Smith. Let's create animated bullet points in Adobe Premiere Pro CC. If you've watched my previous tutorial, it was using the old legacy titler, which has no animation properties at all. You had to manually animate it, that's hard to say, on the timeline. Premiere Pro CC now has motion graphics templates that have animation and the text all built into one. I'll show you how to create them from scratch and then how to animate as if they're drawing on the screen. Let's have a look. So the first thing is to go to the graphics workspace up at the top, click on the graphics workspace. If you don't see it, look in the window menu under workspaces, and you can also reset this, and you can also double click on workspace names to reset them. So I've started by creating just a basic graphic. You could export this whole background out of something like PowerPoint or create it in Photoshop, or for me, it's a bunch of objects in the page. So that's an Adobe stock background. I've got a blue bar, a red bar on the top, and I've got some type. So pretty standard stuff. So to create the bullet points, I'm going to click here and click once. I'm not going to click and drag a text frame. I'll just click and start typing. And bullet point one. Now let me just change the color of this text, make it black. Okay. So let me position this where I want, right here. Now, I need to put a bullet point in here because there are no automatic bullet points. There's no button to turn them on. So we need to add them in here. And normally on my desktop, if I'm on Windows and I'm using my numeric keypad, I can hold the Alt key and type 0149 and it drops it in. On the Mac, it's a little bit easier. If you hold the Option key and press the 8 key at the top of the keyboard, it will insert a bullet point based on the font that you're using. So on Windows, you have to use the ASCII text code. On a laptop without a numeric keypad, we've got to go and use the nasty old character map, which is part of Windows. So I'll call that up. I'll search for bullet down here and copy that in. Once you've got that copied, we can paste that in. So I'll just paste that and put in a space. So I'll select it with the space and just copy it so it's a little bit easier. So that's our first bullet point. If you look in the Effects Controls panel and twirl down the text, you'll see source text. So we don't need transform, but if you open up source text, you'll see a stopwatch. If we move ahead to where we want that text to show up and click, you've now added that keyframe. If we move back, it's still there, so we need to put something in its place. And what I'll do is I'll select all the text and just tap the space bar so we have nothing in there. So now when we deselect this text and play, boom, we've got a bullet point. So I'll just move that a little bit earlier. So that's our first bullet point. There it is. I'll move ahead a little bit, place my cursor at the end, return, paste, because I've got that bullet point, and bullet point 2. It made another keyframe automatically, so I'll move ahead, paste, bullet point 3. I think you get the idea. So now I have 4 keyframes. Remember, the first one had a space. So there's our first bullet point. There's our second bullet point. There's our third bullet point. If you zoom into the effects controls and change where these show up, you can either time them or just make them show up a little bit sooner, a little bit later. So if you're trying to match a voiceover track that's describing each one of these bullet points, it might make sense to put markers in the timeline first before you do that. So we can do that. So, I mean, that's it. It's pretty easy. Here's the only gotcha. You better choose the type, all the fonts you want, the style of this first, because you can't go back and change every single bullet point with a different font, because the source text is not only what the word says, but it's also the styling and it's the color of the type too. So if we do go to this third one, so we're on the third bullet point. If I select all of this and we go to something different, so let's go to bold. If we roll this back to the previous one, you'll see it doesn't change. So if you found that you wanted to create, let's leave it as bold here, and just for our purposes, let's put another one. Oop. Okay. You can go back to animating this by going backwards if you wanted to change all of the types. So let's delete all of the keyframes except that current one. Move to this, move earlier, select this one, backspace, and you can see it's made a keyframe. So it's doing the same thing, we're just working backwards. So I'll work backwards. I'll work backwards. And every time I delete that, it's going to delete that point. And then again, we'll hit the space. So now we've got the same thing with the new type, and we didn't have to start from scratch. So work on the type that you want first, and then create your bullet points. If you're copying and pasting a whole bunch of text from PowerPoint, then you can work with this backwards mode. If you look over in the Essential Graphics panel, you'll see Master Styles, and your first thought might be, hey, Colin, why can't I use styles? Well, watch this. If I do that, I've added the style, it deletes every single freaking keyframe. So it's not like you would expect when you are working in a presentation program like Microsoft Word that keeps the build, it keeps the type, it keeps everything that was said, but you're just flipping in a different font or a different style of the slides. Doesn't work that way. This is text in a video editing program. All right, now let's go look at taking this and animating it like this. So instead of just popping on the screen, it's going to write itself on the screen, each word at a time. For this, we're going to use masks. Now, don't panic. It's pretty easy. So you can see each one of these words pops out on screen. So for that, I'll go back to this one that doesn't have any of that. And if you, again, go to the effects controls and twirl down the text, not the text that's at the top, the header, this text, we're not going to be animating the source text because it's already done. So you would type all of the words in and not add a keyframe for source text. And we're not using transform. If you just twirl this down, you'll see 3 controls for a mask. And we're going to click on the 4-point polygon or a rectangle. You can have this with a soft edge, but I'm just going to turn this down to 0. And I'll position this where I want it. This mask doesn't have side handles. So if you move your mouse further away and click and drag, you'll select both of these, hold the Shift key, and you can drag this out. So I'm going to drag it all the way out to there. Same with the bottom. Select both on the bottom and drag that as tight as I can, making sure that this descender is in place. So let's imagine this is where I want this word revealed. I'm going to click on the mask path. And one oddity that really confuses people in Premiere Pro is you had the mask selected, you click to add a keyframe, and the mask disappears. It doesn't disappear, it's deselected. So every gosh darn time you've animated the mask, you got to go back and select the mask. Yes, it's a pain, but it's not a lost cause. So let's go back here to mask, click on the mask. There's the mask. Now you can either drag these 2 points over here, or you can just drag the, make sure we're earlier though. So move the playhead a little earlier. If you hold the shift key and drag, you can drag this whole thing left. Now when you hit play, it pops up on screen, okay? The cool thing is, let's move ahead to where the text would start for the next one, which would be at the end of this one. If you select the mask and copy and paste, you'll actually create another mask. Now what you have to do is you have to delete the keyframes, move it down so it's on the next one, and you'll see it's made a keyframe. Remember, this is where I wanted the next text to start. So if you drag this keyframe ahead and do the same as before, I'm holding shift and dragging that to the left, now I've got 2 bullet points. That one comes out, the next one comes out, and you keep doing this for each one of these. So I still have that copied, so if I just paste that in, I'll paste that mask again, delete the keyframes, move it down to its position, drag that one over here, shift drag that over there, hit play, it stops, twirl that up, paste it in, get rid of the keyframes, drag it down, move that ahead, shift drag that over here, and you end up with all of these being animated. Boom, 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 boom. The great thing about this is you only have to do this once. Then you can go back and change all of the text and the fonts and anything you want, because remember, we're revealing the mask. So let's go back to this one that was all complete. So now all of the text is showing. So let's select all of this text, and I'm just going to select each one of these points and leave my bullet points. They just get it. They're fun to work with, aren't they? Maybe not always. Never get tired. I think you get the point here. Make sure I don't. Worth every penny. Okay, now if we go back to the beginning of this, yep, each one's going to come out, right? And if you want, you could select this and change the font, and everything's going to work. Right-click on this and export this as a motion graphics template and call it my automatic bullet point, animated bullet points, and place this wherever you want, in your library, on your computer, drag it into any other program. And instead of benefits of hiring a pro, you could just have header and bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just share that, use that anytime you want. You could flip in a new background. You could save this with a number of different backgrounds. So it's initially a little bit of setting up, but far easier. If you watched how to do this with the legacy titler, man, you want to blow your brains out. That is so difficult. So this is so much easier. All right, if you're new to Video Revealed, please take a moment and subscribe. Hopefully you found this informative. If you want to support us a little more, then you can support us. We're making it very easy through PayPal. We've got some great people that support us, and we really love them. Thank you so much. You can use your credit, debit card, or your PayPal account, either a monthly donation or a one-time donation. All right, till next time, I'm Colin Smith, and it's my job to get you and your animated bullet points looking their best.